Let me tell you something unusual about quietness in a world built on noise. We live in a time where nearly every breath becomes content. People document their mornings, their meals, their moods. They share joys, frustrations, and curated vulnerability. It feels like everything has become a stage and everyone, willingly or not, a performer. And yet, there are people who remain completely off the radar, not invisible, just unbroadcasted. They scroll, they read, they observe, but they rarely, if ever, post. You probably know someone like this, or maybe you are someone like this. And the question always floats quietly in the background. Why? Why stay silent when the world rewards visibility? Most assume it's shyness, introversion, or lack of confidence. But the truth is far more layered, because for many, choosing not to post is not about absence. It's about agency. In the digital age, silence is no longer empty. Silence is a boundary, a filter, a decision about what the world does not get to access. See, social media has rewired how we measure identity. We showcase more than we speak. We perform more than we feel. Attention became currency. Visibility became proof. So those who remain quiet, they disrupt that system simply by opting out. They watch without the need to interrupt. They think before inserting themselves. They reflect before they react. Psychological studies reveal a pattern. People who rarely post often score higher in introspection, autonomy, and emotional regulation. They're less dependent on external validation, less swayed by comparison, more grounded in who they are rather than how they appear. They don't feel the need to declare themselves. They're trying to understand themselves. In a world overflowing with performance, that's rare. Because let's be honest, most of what we post isn't just communication. It's self-construction. It's subconscious branding. Every caption whispers, "This is me." Does anyone agree? But when you step away from posting, something shifts. You start experiencing moments without converting them into content. You stop living in anticipation of an audience. You reclaim your life from the lens that keeps trying to frame it. And here's the quiet truth. People who don't post aren't antisocial. They're anti-performance. They crave authenticity in spaces where authenticity feels edited. They want presence, not applause. Some stop posting after a kind of emotional exhaustion. Maybe they once shared everything, until they realized they were no longer living their moments, only documenting them. The pressure to keep up with their own highlight reel became too heavy. Their life became a show that didn't feel like theirs. So they slipped away. Not dramatically, no announcement, just a gentle fade from the feed. And yet, they didn't disappear. They simply returned to themselves. There's a psychological concept called psychological ownership. The feeling that something belongs deeply, privately to you. Posting dilutes that ownership. A moment becomes public property, open to commentary, misinterpretation, appropriation. So people who stay silent often do so to protect what is meaningful, to keep their memories intact, unaltered by opinion, to make sure their life remains theirs. Their silence isn't withdrawal, it's preservation. Think about this. When was the last time you had a beautiful moment and didn't feel the pull to share it? When was the last time you allowed a memory to exist only in your mind? That instinct to share, it didn't always exist. It was trained, reinforced, rewarded. Likes became micro-validation. Views became micro-significance. And the cycle continued until we forgot how to exist without an audience. So when someone steps away, it's not passivity, it's discipline. A reclamation of presence. They cook without documenting. They love without announcing. They travel without tagging. In that quiet space, something profound returns. The ability to feel without needing to be seen. But not every silence comes from peace. Some comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, judged, or dismissed. Social media amplifies what psychologists call self-presentational pressure. The constant awareness that eyes are watching, even when they aren't. And for some, that awareness becomes suffocating. They want connection, but not scrutiny. They want authenticity, but not performance. So they retreat, not out of indifference, but out of self-protection. And ironically, the quietest people online often think the loudest thoughts. There's something almost philosophical about their stillness. In a culture screaming, "Look at me," their silence whispers, "I exist without your gaze." They understand that not every experience requires witnesses, that the most transformative moments, growth, heartbreak, healing, often happen silently, behind closed doors. And that being unseen does not mean being insignificant. In fact, it's often where identity is built rather than displayed. Social media promises connection, but often delivers comparison. When you stop posting, you stop chasing digital closeness and begin nurturing real ones. You notice who reaches out without reminders, who remembers you without notifications, who asks how you are, not what you're posting. People who don't post, they live in that realm of quiet connection, where loyalty isn't measured by engagement metrics, where intimacy is earned, not displayed. Part of their quietness comes from security, the kind that doesn't require an audience. When you're comfortable with who you are unobserved, you stop needing proof. That's not ego, it's peace. And ironically, those who share the least often have the most depth, the richest stories, the most profound insights, but they save them for the people who sit across from them, not the people who scroll past them, because to them, real connection isn't a comment, it's presence. Those who don't post often notice things others miss, the textures of ordinary life, the pauses between words, the subtle emotions behind someone's eyes. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's attention, and sometimes that attention makes them hard to read. People label them mysterious, distant, private, but look closer. Their quiet is not absence, it's depth. It's the comfort of not needing to explain their existence. They understand that once a moment becomes content, it stops being a moment, it becomes a product, so they choose to protect their life from that transformation. Next time you see someone who never posts, don't assume they're hiding. Maybe they're simply living fully, quietly, intentionally. Maybe they've reclaimed the dignity of unshared moments, the purity of private joy, the beauty of a life not constantly translated for public consumption. They remind us of something we've forgotten, that being unseen does not mean being empty, that being quiet does not mean being disconnected, that the truest parts of life often happen away from the screen. And maybe, in their silence, they're not disappearing at all. They're becoming whole.